A lot of people all over the world love Rick Harrison from Pawn Stars on the History Channel. Not many people can say that about someone else. That's why it was so shocking when rumors started to spread that Rick was going to spend the rest of his life in jail. The fact that Rick has had some pretty major legal problems and personal problems in his life has made this rumor get more attention. Let's look at what happened to Rick Harrison and find out how he is doing now. John Richard Harrison and Joanne Room Harrison had Rick on March 22, 1965. His parents had 4 children: Sherry, Joseph, Rick, and Chris. Rick was the middle child. Rick first dealt with terrible disasters when he lost his sister Sherry Joanne Harrison when he was very young. They had their first child, Sherry, who was born with Down syndrome. She died too soon, when she was only 6 years old. Rick had epileptic seizures when he was 8 years old, which made things even worse. He had to spend a lot of time in bed reading books while his seizures went on and on. His love of books and reading, especially things about physics and history, grew from that point on. One of his favorite books is The Great Brain by John D. Fitzgerald, which was about a Utah con artist named Tom D. Fitzgerald, who was 10 years old, who gave young Rick ideas. Rick went to San Diego's Taft Middle School as a teen, but dropped out in the 10th grade to make $2,000 a week selling fake Gucci bags. But everything changed when his folks' real estate business went out of business. In April 1981, the family had to move to Las Vegas, Nevada. Rick had to deal with another problem when his girlfriend Kim got pregnant. Rick bravely chose to become a dad, even though he was still pretty young. The young pair lost their first child to a miscarriage, which was another terrible tragedy. Still, they didn't give up, and a year later they got married. Then they had their first child, Corey, who grew up to be very successful and an important part of the family business. After 2 years, they were happy to have their second child, Adam. Another bad thing happened here. Rick and Kim broke up not long after Adam was born. Rick wasn't a single dad for long though. He began dating Tracy only 9 months after getting divorced. They went out together for 8 months before getting married, a year after he got divorced. And now that they had a new partner, they were responsible for taking care of Corey and Adam. Rick had to find a better way to make money, now that his family was bigger. Rick had to help his dad with the new business when he opened a 300-square-foot store on Las Vegas Boulevard South, selling used gold and silver coins. At the time, Rick was taking back cars at night. For example, we already said that Rick liked physics and history. He had no idea that the things he learned in those classes would help him with the new business his family was starting. The shop did well because Rick knew a lot about history, as he was ready to back up each piece with history. After 5 years, the family moved to a better location on Fremont Street. But after 2 years they had to move again because their lease was up. Later, he and his dad thought it would be a good idea to turn the store into a pawn shop. One problem they had though was that they couldn't become a full-fledged pawn shop because of a law in Las Vegas that said the city could only give out a certain number of pawn licenses. So they planned to apply for a loan license as soon as there were enough people living in the city. It took some court trouble, but they finally got their pawn license. The father and son started the gold and silver pawn shop at 713 Las Vegas Boulevard South in the same year. It is close to the Las Vegas Strip. At first, the father and son shop was mostly about selling unique sports and history items, but jewelry quickly became their most popular item. Their business grew and became well known in Las Vegas over time. Rick was now a co-founder of the show and shop. He worked hard to grow the pawn shop business and spent most of his life there. There were millions of loans every year by 2005, making tens of thousands of dollars in interest. The next year, the shop became famous for having unique sports items with interesting backstories. They also helped gamblers who needed money for petrol to get home by letting them sell things. As they got bigger and more famous, the History Channel became interested. This is how Pawn Stars came to be. One thing that did very well was jewelry. Their business grew and became well known in Las Vegas over time. Rick was now one of the founders of the show and shop. He spent most of his life working hard to make the pawn shop business bigger and better. When they reached 2005, they were lending millions of dollars every year and making hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest. The next year, the shop became famous for having unique sports items with interesting backstories. They also helped gamblers who needed money for petrol to get home by letting them sell things. As they got bigger and more famous, the History Channel became interested. This is how Pawn Stars came to be. The idea for Pawn Stars came from Brent Montgomery and Colby Gaines of Left Field Pictures. They loved the wide range of interesting and sketchy pawn shops in Las Vegas in 2008. They looked for a family-owned shop to base a TV show on because they thought these places could have interesting personalities. They found the gold and silver pawn shop in the end. It was less than 2 miles from the Las Vegas Strip. In 2001, this shop was the subject of a PBS program. Rick had been wanting a show about his shop for years. He had been on an episode of Insomniac with Dave Attell before in 2003. HBO was first told about the show, but they didn't like the idea. But they let it be changed into the style we enjoy now, that is good for families. It was first called Pawning History, but they changed it to Pawn Stars because that was a better name for what they were making. The name is a fun play on the words porn stars. The famous gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas, Nevada, was the first place where the show was filmed. Most of the things that are pawned on Pawn Stars are jewelry, but people also bring in a lot of old or retro things. The store is usually closed to the public while it's being filmed, and only a few people who have been given permission can go inside. Because of the show, the Harrison family became well known. A lot of people watched it, liked it, and wanted more, which helped the show grow and come back every year. By 2011, Pawn Stars was the most watched show on the History Channel and the second most watched reality show, after Jersey Shore. Rick put out his autobiography, based on Deals, Steals, and My Life at the Gold and Silver, which that same year made it to number 22 on the New York Times bestseller list. Rick split up with his second wife Tracy that same year. He got engaged to Deanna Burdett, who was also divorced, the next year. He had been divorced twice before. Rick was pleased that the show was doing well and that his fan base was growing. In an episode of iCarly called I Lost My Head in Vegas, he, Corey, and Chumley played themselves. After 4 days, Rick played the owner of an antique shop in an episode of The Middle, a different show. This is about the time he got married to Deanna Burdett in Laguna Beach, California. Rick got 3 stepdaughters from this marriage. Their names are Serena, Sienna, and Marissa. The History Channel first showed the game show Pornography in July 24. Show where Rick, Corey, and Chumley compete against other contestants to stop them from winning cash and things from the gold and silver pawn shop. Unfortunately, Rick and his family would go through a string of terrible events, starting with the death of the family father. In June 2018, Rick lost his dad. Rick told over 250,000 Instagram fans that his father had died. Parkinson's disease was blamed as the cause. A Harrison family representative stated that the patriarch had died. There was a close-up picture of Rick's 77-year-old dad, wearing a black suit, glasses, and a fedora. Rick also wrote a touching ode to the man who had helped him run the family business. Richard Benjamin, better known as Old Man Harrison, died this morning with his family by his side. Our family will miss him a lot, his many friends all over the world and the staff at Gold and Silver Pawn. The History Channel also said in an emotional statement that it was sad about the death of the old man. We are very sad to say that our friend Richard the Old Man Harrison has died. He was a beloved part of the History and Pawn Stars family. We will miss how smart and honest he was. During this hard time, our thoughts are with the Harrison family. Rick also talked about how his father had an effect on his life, was my hero, and I was lucky to have a cool dad like him. I'm glad I could share him with so many people who could see what a great family man he was. He also said that he had a full life, and that Pawn Stars had helped many people learn how important family, hard work, and humor are. Thanks to everyone who has thought about and prayed for us, asked to be left alone during this time. Added a second picture of his dad in the Navy when he was young, and wrote, "Today I lost a friend, a father, a teacher, and so much more. The old man died this morning, after a long fight with Parkinson's. I love you, Dad. We'll see you next time." Rick was very sad when his father died, and he was now the only one who could take care of his family and run the shop. Rick had to deal with the extra stress of getting a split from his third wife, whom he married in September 2020. TMZ got a hold of court papers that show Rick Harrison and Deanna Burdett appear to have grown apart so much that they could no longer stay married. Rick said in the suit that they can't get along as a married couple because their tastes, opinions, and interests have changed so much. TMZ also said that the split might not have been noticed because it happened while people were protesting George Floyd across the country. Rick told TMZ that they got 3 great daughters out of it, referring to Deanna's 3 children from her previous marriage. He also said that the marriage didn't work out and that both people agreed to get a divorce. He also said that he was done with that. The new father-daughter photos he shared on Instagram show that he still loves his stepchildren as much as his own. In an Instagram post on August 7th, Rick wrote, "Father-daughter day off-roading." He has said the same things about more than one of his stepdaughters. That's at least a good thing. Even though there were problems, Rick got through them all with the help of his son Corey and his best friend Austin Chumley Russell. In the following year, Rick married Amanda Palmer, his 4th wife, hoping that their life together would be better. Things didn't get better for Rick though. After 2 years he had court problems with his mother Joanne Rue. According to USA Today, Rick's mother, Joanne Harrison, has sued him over family property and who owns the gold. Nevada State Court is where the legal case was filed. The people who are being sued are Rick Harrison, the gold and silver pawn shop, Harrison Properties, Joe Properties, and others. Running a family business can be hard because money problems can make it hard for people to get along. This is what happened to the son and mother, which is sad. Having fights over money really hurt Rick and Joanne's relationship. In her complaint, Rick's mother said that he had broken a promise because she had been married to his father for almost 60 years. She woke up from a sleep in the early 2000s and was in the hospital. While she was there, Rick had her sign over 51% of the pawn shop to him. At a time when she wasn't sure what she was signing, fans who had been following the story had always thought Rick was a family-oriented guy who wouldn't hurt his family for money, so this didn't make him look good. That's right, Rick's dad died, and his wife took over his 49% part of the pawn shop. But her son never gave her the business's full financial records. She said she didn't have the right paperwork for more than $500,000 in cash and metal that she thought her husband had before he died. She told him that Rick had stopped sending her money from the business her late husband owned. Rick used to send her $25,000 every month, but that stopped in 2020. Joanne was also going to court to try to get that sum back. Reports say that Joanne put in a temporary protection order against her son to stop him from selling any of the family's assets. This made many fans worry about Rick's wealth. The protection order also said Rick couldn't move or hide cash assets, or do anything else that would make her less involved in the family business. The lawsuit also asked for damages that weren't stated, a full list of assets, and a court order telling Rick he couldn't use his mom's money. He also had to give up any control he had over her property through a constructive trust. But Rick later said in an interview about the case that the claims are not true. I also think that other people are using my 81-year-old mother to further their own goal. Joanne's request said, while Rick lives a comfortable life as a famous person in charge of all the family businesses and finances, I am scared and don't know if I will have enough money each month to pay for my medical bills and other costs. And Story said that Joanne was over 80 years old and had a lot of health problems that needed care 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This can cost up to $15,000 a month. Rick said that the news was the only way he knew about the protection order request. After a few months, he said, I've tried to get in touch with her many times but haven't been able to. Not only that, but one of the companies she is fighting is owned by my mom. The star of Pawn Stars looked confused about his mom's case. Even though Rick was facing many problems, the worst and most important one was still to come. In January 2024, Rick lost his son in a terrible accident. A press officer in Clark County, Nevada, reported that Adam had died from taking too much fentanyl and methamphetamine. The death was ruled an accident by the Clark County Office of the Medical Examiner. When another neighbor said he hadn't been seen since January 17th, worries grew. In the end, his owner found him not responding, so they called the police. A few days later, Rick broke the sad news that his son had died by sharing a picture of himself and Adam at a restaurant on Instagram. You'll always be in my heart, he wrote. Adam, I love you, along with an image of a broken heart. A family spokeswoman, Laura Herlovich, said on January 22nd that Adam had died from an overdose of fentanyl. We are very sad about Adam's death. She asked that you please give us space while we mourn his death. Rick also said something about it in a statement, stressing how important it is to take the fentanyl problem in this country more seriously. Many people, including Donald Trump Jr., expressed their sadness after Rick's touching Instagram tribute to Adam. He just wrote, I'm so sorry, man. Adam's older brother Corey also shared a picture with the two of them as kids on Instagram and wrote, I'll always love you, Bubba. Adam Harrison wasn't on Pawn Stars, but he is said to have worked at Gold and Silver Pawn before he became a plumber. Corey had said before that Adam didn't seem like he wanted to be on the show. Rick stays upbeat and hides his pain behind work. Even though he has a lot of problems and sadness in his life, he even became very interested in politics. He backed Daniel Rodimer for Nevada's 3rd Congressional District and Donald Trump for president. At one point, he even thought about running for governor of Nevada. Rick also said he might run for U.S. Senate. Many people in the party have talked to me about it, and I always think about it. I'm still not sure what I want to do, but I'm not ruling anything out either. Because of what he has done, there is no question that people love him. It didn't come as a surprise when he was made a Kentucky colonel during an episode of the Pawn Stars spinoff that was partly shot at Locust Grove. In their grand parlor, He was made a member of the Kentucky Colonels. When the governor of Kentucky gives an award, it's called the Kentucky Colonel. Things also look like they are getting better for Tim romantically. His spokesperson told People that he is dating Las Vegas nurse Angie Polushkin right now. Rick said in a statement, "Angie and I met 6 months ago. She works as a nurse in law. We've been in Europe for her birthday celebrations for the past 2 weeks." He also recently shared some pictures of the two of them dressed up for a fancy night out in Paris, which showed how they are dating. Rick doesn't work at the pawn shop all the time anymore. He now stars in Pawn Star shows on this. The rumors that he will spend the rest of his life in prison are very different from the semi-retirement he is having. Rick is enjoying his semi-retirement with his grandkids and family, even though he has had a few legal problems. Rick said he